Hi everyone, welcome to my kitchen. Today's recipe I'm going to show you how to make a mutter samosa chaat. Mutter is essentially a dried green peas which is made into a nice delicious gravy which is made chatpata with some amchur powder and chaat masala, and I'm going to be making a very traditional samosa with aloo and moongfali, which is peanuts, and then deep frying them and making a chaat out of it. These chaats are perfect for festivals as well as when you have friends and family during the Diwali and the party season. So without wasting any time, let me just dive right in to show you how to make this delicious chaat. So the first step is to make the samosa dough. So I have my MasterChef jar over here where I'm going to be adding in some flour. The atta kneading blade is inside as well. And I'm going to be adding in some flour. I'm going to be using maida. You can also use wheat flour. But for samosas, I like to use maida because the crust comes out nice and perfect and it stays crusty for a long time. And to this I'm going to go ahead and add in some ajwain, and ghee is a very important ingredient for making a crust like a samosa crust because it adds to the flakiness. And so I'm just going to add in the ghee and pinch of salt, and I'm going to cover the MasterChef jar and then process it, mix all the flours and the ghee together, and then add little water at a time and then knead to make a nice firm dough. Okay, and it takes less than sort of 30 seconds to bring the whole thing together, and if you do it by hand it would take a longer time. So this jar is comes in really handy for that. So when you notice that the dough sort of comes together and makes a ball inside the jar, then you know that it is done and you can turn it off, and you just have to knead it just a little bit before you can start making the crust. So now I'm going to keep this aside and then quickly make the filling, which is the classic samosa filling with some moongfali, and then show you how to roll it out and then deep fry it. So making the samosa filling is extremely simple. I have some boiled potatoes over here with me which I've chopped and kept. You can also mash the potatoes, but I like having pieces of potatoes into my samosa. So I'm just going to add it into my large mixing bowl and some boiled potatoes, and I'm going to add in some ginger. I have some roasted and crushed som, which is the fennel seeds. I'm going to add that in. So I have some roasted peanuts here, which is I've halved and kept. You get half roasted peanuts. You can also crush them and add it, or you can just add them just like that. And some chopped coriander leaves. And then now for all the different types of masalas. Okay, so there's garam masala which goes in, and you have your amchur powder, and you have your black salt, which is the kala namak, and you have some chaat masala powder. I love adding chaat masala to my samosa. It tastes really nice. Red chili powder and some cumin seeds. Also, I'm going to add a little bit of salt to taste. The chaat masala has some salt, so I'm just going to mix all of them up until it is well combined and give it a light mash. Okay, so you can feel the texture of the potatoes. And I'm just going to lightly mash it up with my fingers, and then so that it's not completely smooth, but it's just just 20-20 type of thing. Okay, great. So give it a taste and check if you need any more spices, salt or masalas or chaat masala for that matter, and adjust it accordingly. And then now my next step is to show you how to shape it. And before I shape it, I'm actually going to prep the oil for deep frying so that once I'm finished shaping, I'll be ready to fry them as well. And not going to add any more salt because it has all the spices in there. So now I'm going to flatten these portions that I've made and then place them on the surface and roll them into close to about 6-inch diameter. I've made pretty large balls so that I'm going to be making little larger samosas. Okay, so I'm just going to roll them out into about a 6-inch diameter circle and then cut it into half and then shape it into a cone and then fill it in with the samosa filling. So I'm going to use my knife and cut it in the center to make like a semicircle. And after that, I'm going to roll this out and I'm going to shape this into a cone. So that's how you do it. And then seal it and press it in. And I'm going to fill these cones with the samosa filling right now. You have to pull the dough out and then bring the dough on the outside and seal it so that it gets completely sealed. You can also, apply a little bit of water around the edges to seal it completely, but my dough is already moist, so I don't need any water. It's just perfect, and I don't need to, add any more water. So I'm just going to ensure that all the sides are completely sealed, and that's it. Ensure there are no air pockets. So I'll go ahead and roll the remaining portions of the dough and then deep fry them. So I'm going to add these shaped samosas into my preheated oil and fry them on medium heat. Don't keep it at high because they need to be nice golden brown and crisp from inside out. So it takes a good 5 minutes to fry these samosas on medium heat. Allow them to become brown slowly and gradually, and you'll have a nice crusty samosa on the top. Ensure that you keep turning it around while it is cooking, and be patient, and then fry them in small batches so all of the samosas get nicely done. So now to make the mutter, I'm going to be adding a little oil into my pan. Into this, some kalonji seeds, and allow it to crackle. And add in some ginger, some finely chopped onions, and we'll saute the onions until it becomes lightly soft. Okay, and once the onions become soft, I'm going to add in the tomatoes. After that, the cooked mutter. So what I have here is with me a green mutter, which I soaked it for a good 5 to 6 hours. In fact, overnight works best. And then pressure cooked it with a little bit of turmeric powder and salt for about 5 to 6 whistles. It takes about 30 minutes to cook the mutter, depending upon the quality and the age of the mutter as well. So once it's done, I kept it aside and it was ready, and you can actually plan this and do it. So you can actually cook the mutter the previous day, and then on the day of making the chaat, you can just put all the ingredients together. So I'm just going to saute the onions until it becomes soft. So now that the onions have lightly softened, I'm not going to wait for it to become caramelized or brown. They just sort of changed color and they've softened and the raw smell has gone away. At this stage, I'm going to add in some chopped tomatoes and give it a stir and allow the tomatoes to become a little soft as well. And this will take a couple of minutes, and once it becomes soft, we'll add all the masalas and the cooked mutter and then give it a stir and we'll be done. So now that the tomatoes have lightly softened, I'm going to go ahead and add in the turmeric powder, the chaat masala powder, some amchur and some garam masala. And since the chaat masala has some salt already, and I've also cooked the mutter along with some salt, I'm not going to be adding any more salt right now. So we'll combine all of it together and then decide whether we want to add some salt, okay? And I'm going to at this stage add in some chopped green chilies, and then finally the cooked mutter. Give it all a stir until the mutter is well combined and comes to a brisk boil. And once it does, give it a taste. Check if you need salt at this stage, or a little bit of lemon at this stage, or amchur at this stage, and you can add all of these as per your taste. Okay, so I'm just going to give this a stir and wait for it to come to a brisk boil. And once it does, we'll be ready to assemble our mutter samosa chaat. But in the meanwhile, my samosas are pan frying, and while the mutter was getting ready and they're almost done, and while this is done, I'm sure my samosas will be done as well, and I'll show you that in just a bit. So my mutter came to a brisk boil and that got done, and I noticed the samosas have got a nice golden crust to it, and this is perfectly right. You have to take it out before it becomes too brown, because they'll continue to brown when they get out of the oil. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and drain the samosas. So I'm ready to plate it. So the first thing that I'm going to do is to ensure that you serve it in individual portions, and place the mutter filling at the bottom so it's easier for the guests to scoop them out and have it. I'm just going to spread this mutter filling right at the bottom, and you can also put it on the top, but I like placing it at the bottom. And I'm going to lightly mash up the samosa and then place it here, and then just open it up a little bit so it's easier for your guests to sort of cut it and eat it. And there you go. We'll just press it like that, and then on top of this, all the chutneys. I'm going to add a dollop of the green chutney, and we'll drizzle in the date tamarind chutney. If you like it sweeter, then add just a little more. chopped onions, and some pomegranates. Pomegranates add a lot of color to chaat, so ensure that you keep them handy, and it tastes really nice as well. And then some sev or bhujia. And that's it. This is how your Matar samosa chaat looks. It's really simple to make, and it's also delicious too if you just plan it a little bit. You know, keep your Matar soaked and ready, and maybe, you know, you can also, when you're actually making for parties, what I typically do is to I make the samosa, the crust as well as the filling ready. So I shape the samosas, and without deep frying them, I place the samosas on a baking sheet, the non-fried samosas on a baking sheet, and cover it with a cling wrap and then freeze it. And so now you can either put it in Ziploc bags and freeze it, or you can cover, if you know you're going to fry it the next day, then I just ensure that I space it out and then freeze it. And then that way you can just take out these samosas whenever you want and then deep fry them and then serve it to your guests. So it comes really handy. And the crust, and you have to ensure that you don't thaw it. As soon as you take it out of the freezer, you have to actually put it in hot oil, like almost like a minute after, because if you allow it to, you know, thaw it, if you allow it to thaw, and then if it becomes soft, then the crust won't be as flaky. So it's important that you deep fry it as soon as you take it out of the freezer. So that's it. So I hope you found these tips useful on how to make a samosa as well as a Matar samosa chaat. So do give these recipes a try this festive season, and I hope you enjoy making it for your friends and family. Until then, until next time, happy cooking and healthy eating.